How's it going, YouTube? This is Sam, coming to you on day 106 of my cold press solid food vacation juice feast. Cold pressed juice, solid food vacation juice feast. And my big announcement today is that I'm going to break my feast tomorrow morning on day 107. I'm going to do the prune test. It's been 10 days since I made my last video, which was day 96. And I'll let you know what I experienced in the last 10 days that ultimately led me to the conclusion that now is the time to break the feast, and that I think I'm done. I think I've gone as long as I can go, or should go, or need to go. So the time is right now. So the last video I made was day 96, and at that point my movements were starting to slow down a little bit. They became about every other day at that point. I can't remember if that was before or after the video, but I think it was about every other day. Day 97, I drank all watermelon cantaloupe juice, and I don't think I had a single movement that day. And I think around that time I noticed a rhythm of, like, I would have maybe 1.5 to 3 liters of lemon ginger blast, which is a very spicy, savory, astringent juice. And I would have big movements when I drank that, and then I would have the rest, like watermelon juice, the rest of the day, not so many movements. And then I would go like a day lemon ginger blast, a day no lemon ginger blast, so just like watermelon and cantaloupe juice the next day, which was like day, I guess, 97. And on those days I wouldn't have any movements. So I would have like movements with the lemon ginger blast day 96, then all melon juice the next day, no movements, then back to the lemon ginger blast for about half my juices, and I would move like substantial things again. And then I think after that I did like 2 days with just melon juice, and I moved like a little bit of liquids, but nothing really substantial. And at that point I was really thinking I was definitely done. And then I went back to the lemon ginger blast the next day and moved like some big stuff, and that was like day 98, 99, 100. And I started to get kind of worried, because that pattern of, like, you know, moving stuff with the lemon ginger blast that was too substantial to ignore. It smelled, it had like a rubbery texture, even though it wasn't so, you know, thick. It was actually like quite thin in diameter, but you know, and then some of the stuff was actually thick too. But I knew that I was happy to get that stuff out. And then when I would go to the melon juices for a whole day, like, I might not move anything. And so I kind of developed a pattern where I would do that like every other day to try to, you know, use the melon juice to cleanse out my, you know, what was inside of me, and then the lemon ginger blast to kind of flush everything out, to burn it out. And that actually worked pretty well, I think. You know, around day 100, 101, 102, I think it was day 102, it was last Friday. Around this time I was like not sleeping super well, in that I would fall asleep really early, but then I was waking up like earlier and earlier and earlier, almost insanely early, like 4:30, 4. My worst day I woke up at like 2 or 2:30 and just couldn't get back to sleep. And that turned out to be the day. And I would have, like, those were days where I also had sort of bad dreams. I mean, they weren't nightmares per se, they weren't shockingly bad, but they were a little bit bad. You know, I think I had one dream that I got like inadvertently elbowed in the eye by someone else, but it was a very sort of, it was a very vivid experience, that dream. And then when I woke up in the morning, I knew that something inside me had been dislodged and was coming out, and that dream was telling me that this was like quite a substantial thing. I think so I had like 2 days of consecutive days of not great sleep and bad dreams. And then of course also at this time I was drinking so much melon juice, because melons are in season and it tasted really good to sort of get some, and be drinking watermelon or cantaloupe juice or Galia melon, or lately I've been drinking canary or winter melons. And that was really refreshing. It was really nice to have that while like laying poolside and soaking up sun. But the problem was those have less calories than apple juice or pineapple juice or, you know, orange juice or you know, your other staples. So I was drinking like more than 2 gallons. I've been drinking more than 2 gallons every day for the last week. I mean, some days like 2.5 gallons. And I noticed like in the last few days, and this has even happened this last Friday. Sorry, it's a helicopter. The last few days, the last 5 days or so, or week, I would notice that on days that I drank all melon juice, even if it didn't matter how much I drank, like by the end of the day, if I didn't have any apple juice that day, or by the end of the day, I was like getting symptoms of like gluconeogenesis, and so much to say that I wasn't getting enough calories, or that the juices I were drinking were not calorie rich enough, that my body was saying this isn't enough. You know, even if I would just drink and drink and drink, it wasn't quenching that feeling in the back of my throat that lets me know that this whole fast that I'm, you know, satiated. And there was a couple days where I had to like pedal to the grocery store at like 8:39 at night, grab a couple pineapples, take those home, juice them really quick, just to feel like I could go to sleep that night. And it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't scary, or, you know, I sweet potato apple juice was another one I did in a situation like that. I mean, the grocery stores are open until 10 here. I live nearby. I just popped over, got them, came back, and, you know, just to try to help me sleep. I think that day that I woke up at 2 a.m., I don't think I had anything but melon juice, and I think that's maybe why I didn't sleep so well. But those days, especially like this past weekend, I think it was day 101, 102, and I think just 101 and 102, I wasn't sleeping well. I woke up feeling kind of tired, a little bit disoriented, and out. But like in those days, in the morning and also in the afternoon, I think on Saturday or on Friday, I was passing that noticeably old Mather, that smelly, looked quite old, and had the first time a texture that was almost like it wouldn't come apart on its own. And then as soon as I passed those, actually I felt better. I didn't feel so tired or sick. I think the last one was like day 102 or 3. And I have these in my notes, but I don't have my notes in front of me at the moment because they're on my phone, which I'm using to film. But I have those for reference to check if I need. But as soon as I passed those, I would feel better again. And I think day 102 or 103, I even had like a bit of a stomach kind of issue, but it went away as soon as I had that movement. And at this point, I had been going in and out of thinking, like earlier in days like 98, 99, I was thinking, wow, I've only been passing mostly juices. I think I'm pretty much done. Maybe I'll break this thing on day 100. And then when day 100, 101, 102 came around and I was still moving stuff, I got pretty disheartened and was thinking, you know, basically I can't really keep this fast going much longer than day 110 or so, because I'm planning a trip that I'm going to leave next Friday in about, I think, or next Saturday, so about a week and a half from now, or 11 days from now. And you know, I wanted to break the juice fast by then, so I was preparing myself to break it, even though I thought there was a good chance that I might not be done. And that was pretty disheartening, but I was kind of just prepping myself to focus on the good work I had done to move stuff out of me. You know, the fact that I still would gradually come off the fast for a week or so, and maybe the rest of the stuff would come out of me then if I ate, you know, mostly very juicy fruits and things like that. Maybe stuff would come out with the prunes. But then around day 104, I woke up and I felt another movement coming on, and I thought, oh crap, here it comes again, you know, a big kerplunker that's going to be disheartening, you know. But then it was a different kind of movement. It was very liquid, and it was like, for lack of a better analogy or metaphor, it was like soft serve ice cream, except it was even more liquid than that, and it was a lot. And I had lemon ginger blast that morning, and I was moving that for the next hour or so, and then and I thought maybe this is all juices, and and for the next, you know, for the next few hours I was moving that stuff. And then that happened the next day on day 105, And I thought, I think this could be it, that this is what it looks like when I'm passing juices. And the rest of the day it was just juices, or nothing at all. I think Saturday I had lemon ginger blast, moved a bunch of stuff, and some melons in the afternoon, and then Sunday I had all watermelon, so I had like a movement in the morning. And then yesterday, lemon ginger blast. Excuse me, 2 days ago lemon ginger blast, yesterday melons, and then this morning lemon ginger blast. And it's all been that pattern of just big juice movements in the morning, and then smaller juice movements thereafter if I'm drinking a very astringent juice. And I thought this I think is it. This feels right to me. I think these are all juices, nothing very solid to come out of me for 4 days now, and or three days depending on how you count. And you know, I'm ready to break this, and what's more, the timing is still right for me to give myself a good 10-11 days to properly break this before I go on my trip, in which case I'll still be able to eat gentle foods, but just might not have as much control over what I can eat or juice when I'm traveling. So on this 107-day juice feast, I didn't use any, I will not have used any psyllium husker bentonite clay, because I wanted to see what came out of me sort of unaltered, unadulterated. And you know, nothing that came out of me, or not too much that came out of me, looked like the kind of mucoid plaque you see when you Google mucoid plaque and you see people, you know, having these big long strands and clumps of stuff coming out of them. What came out of me was still quite substantial or shocking or surprising, or just, you know, I couldn't believe that that stuff was inside of me. And even though it didn't exactly, you know, resemble the tar-like, rubbery snake-like strands of mucoid plaque, I mean, it was still not like your typical movements, you know, things that were quite old, quite grotesque. And I'm glad I got them out of me. It wasn't just right at the beginning, it was right up until day 100 when it stopped. And for that reason, I'm convinced that, you know, the snake is real. And I'm glad to have gotten out what was inside of me. In fact, I was talking to Alonzo about mucoid plaque, and he mentioned to me that he had friends who were quite overweight, and they would pass large pieces of mucoid plaque just from going on a fruit fast. There's a sharp difference in going on a fast from going on being so unhealthy and having such an unhealthy diet. They would move mucoid plaque right away. Whereas I wasn't starting from that point of, you know, being very overweight. But I will notice that when 5 years ago, when I went from more of a standard American diet, or, you know, I would say a modified American diet, and I started doing intermittent fasting, I moved some stuff right away that, looking back, I'm quite certain were parasites. They were like very long and flat, and they itched and burned coming out, and they looked like nothing I had ever moved before. And I'm pretty sure that was just from the intermittent fasting and giving my body a rest and allowing it to move that stuff that it wanted to move. Whereas on this feast, I didn't move big pieces of mucoid plaque because, you know, I had, in my juice fasting and my intermittent fasting and raw veganism and vegan and regular vegetarianism in the years running up to this, I was able to, what I think, kind of get that stuff out before this. You know, I think the context is still too fresh for me. I'll need some distance from the juice feast to really reflect on how I will have felt or changed. But, you know, I've noticed in the last 3 days just a high feeling of contentment, gratitude, you know, happiness with where I'm at in my life and where I'm at in my journey. You know, just being happy for my juices, for the sun, just for everything. So those are good signs. You know, I'm kind of trying to get some sun, but this is day 106, and since it is the day before I'm going to break my feast, I just want to also kind of get a good look at where I'm at with my physique. You know, in the last week or so, week and a half since I did get the digital scale, my body measurements haven't really changed. My weight has been in the mid 120s. Down, you know, I started in the mid high 140s, and now I'm in the mid or maybe high 120s, so 20 pounds less on the scale. Another thing that I think has informed me that this is time to end the juice feast is that my waist circumference has shrunk by 3 inches, from about a 31.5 to about a 28.5. And I recall that is the same measurement differential, and actually the exact same measurements as John Rose mentioned when he did his 90-day distance juice feast. He went from a 31.5 to a 28.5, and I went to a 28. I mean, I remember I measured myself maybe 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, and I was about a 29, and then I measured myself maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was about a 28.5. You know, and that was at the same time when I lost a notable 3 or 4 pounds on the scale. You know, it's funny when you're on this juice feast, the pounds don't come off gradually, like they come off in steps. Like you'll plateau at a certain weight, and then you'll have some big movements, and you'll go down like 4 pounds or 5 pounds, and then you'll plateau again, and for like a couple weeks, and then go down. And I think that final plateau happened for me around day like 85, and I was at about a 28.5, and I thought, or maybe day 90, and then I thought that was another good sign that I've gotten as much out of me as is going to come out, because I've been at the same place waist circumference wise for about 2 weeks now, and my measurements on the digital scale in terms of body mass index, body fat percentage, water percentage, they've all remained unchanged. So I'm not sure if maybe my muscle, I think my muscle levels might have gone up a little bit, but I noticed those fluctuate depending on if I've worked out that day or the day before. But you know, you've seen from my workout video that I did around day 48, I did that workout for 3 days a week throughout this entire juice feast. I think there was 2 weeks I did it twice a week because I just needed some rest, or I was traveling and just did hiking or something those weeks. But I didn't take any weeks off from like the calisthenics, like the push-ups, the pull-ups. And I'm quite confident to say that I did not lose any muscle on this juice feast. I mean, maybe I even gained some, but whether or not I gained muscle or lost muscle, because I lost everything else and preserved muscle, and now I've got this, you know, healthy, supple muscle tone. All the dead matter around it is gone, and it looks like I've gained muscle, even if I've just maintained it. You know, I'm doing more push-ups and pull-ups because my body weight that I'm lifting has gone down. So in that way, I have improved in the calisthenic wise, but I'm also not pushing it so hard on those workouts because I am in a, you know, catabolic state. You know, whereas I think I will push it harder after this because I'll be rebuilding again, moving to that anabolic state. One other thing I've noticed is that, you know, I think around 2 weeks ago, I started to notice that like I was having itchy eyes at night, sneezing a little bit, and I wasn't sure why, but it dawned on me, and I think about 3 weeks ago, my fiance and I were giving each other full body massages, which we like to do, and I know it's really good while you're on a juice feast to do that full body work because it can help the lymph flow, and also we just like to do that. We'll each massage each other for like 30 minutes or so, and you know, we use argan oil, and we also use like Nivea white moisturizing cream, and you know, the argan oil is cold pressed from the argan plant or nut, Whereas the Nivea stuff, I mean, it's got a bunch of different chemicals in it. Not saying it's bad or crappy, but it's cheap and there's a lot of chemicals in it. You can just see that on the bottle. And she used the Nivea, some of each, and I think more of the Nivea stuff. And afterwards, I mean, I was like sneezing, my throat was itchy, my nose was running, my eyes were watery, and I realized, like, I could just tell on my skin that these ingredients from the Nivea stuff were making me feel this way. And the reason didn't happen to me before is because, you know, I've become so clean on this juice feast that even the slightest, and I've talked about this in my other videos, even the slightest, you know, chemical application I'm gonna notice it that much more. And if I'm coating myself in this cream and putting it on and rubbing it in, yeah, it's gonna be a bad reaction. In fact, as soon as I noticed it, I had to go in the shower and shower off that cream because I wasn't gonna be able to sleep. I mean, I was itchy, I was like my throat was itchy, you know, my eyes were red. And so when this kept happening only in the evenings thereafter, I realized that I was still using this, you know, facial moisturizer that was a part of my evening routine, that for a while had been fine, but sort of towards the end of my fast, when it became quite sensitive, I would rub it, you know, around my face, certainly above my beard line and my eyes, and I'm quite certain that's why my eyes were getting red, because I would do it in the evening. And when I stopped and just used the argan oil, which we use now I only use that now for massages and for my face, the redness went away. Now, that's not to say I'll never use the other stuff again, but I would just have to make sure I'm not so sensitive. And, you know, my goal is to not be so clogged or toxic that I'm not sensitive, but, you know, we live in a toxic world, and this world isn't really built for people that try to be toxin free. And I'm not sure being toxin free is the goal necessarily, to be that way all the time, but maybe as much as one can. So for now, that argan oil, which is cold pressed, and I never realized that, oh yeah, that is just like my juices, that's the kind of stuff I want to consume. But luckily I do have that stuff because it suits my skin tone, and it doesn't give me any of those negative reactions. So that's another interesting thing I noticed in these past few weeks. What I want to do now is show you footage or the photos I took of my movements throughout the juice feast. I'm probably not going to show everything, but just the more notable, substantial stuff, and I think it'll also help me reflect on what I was going through at those times, and especially right up until the end, because one thing I was concerned about was, how will I know when I'm finished? How will I know when I've stopped pooping, when I'm moving juices? Does it happen all at once? Does it go down gradually? I didn't know that, and, you know, God bless Nathan and Alonzo, but I wanted to learn that for myself on this juice feast, and I think in documenting that stuff and sharing it with you now, you know, hopefully that will inform others who are going on a juice feast. So I will share those with you now. Be warned, if you don't want to see movements, end this video now. But if you want to see those, though, they will be shared now. All right, I said I was going to do it, so here it is. I recorded, or rather photographed and took notes on all my movements that I had on the juice feast, although that's only true from day 5 onward, from April 18th. I started the juice feast on April 14th. You know, I had done many shorter juice feasts, 3 days, 4-day long juice feasts, and of course some 5, 6, and I think a couple 7-day juice feasts before, or no, just a couple 6-day juice feasts before starting this long one. And I noticed that just about every time on day like 3 or so, sometimes on day 2, sometimes on day 4, but usually day 3, I didn't have any movements, and then I would go into very regular movements on day 4. And that happened on this juice feast. I had regular movements the first 2 days, and then on day 3 I didn't, and then on day 4, or excuse me, I had regular movements on the first 3 days, and then I didn't on day 4, and then I had a big movement on day 5. And so that day on day 5, it occurred to me to begin photographing them. So here's the first movement at 9 in the morning on day 5. Looks like there's some faint color of the juice there, and you can see that was at 9 a.m. And then there's just some other matter that came out, fibers, things like that, juice, and then looks like a substantial bit came out that evening around 4:30 or late afternoon. So day 6, nothing in the morning, and then something a bit, something at 2:30, and then something at 5:30. Day 7, not too much, but a bit, some stuff hidden down there. And then day 8, again, not too much. Some of these photos are misleading because I had to hold the phone pretty close to the bowl to get a good photo, so it can make the movements look like they're bigger than they are. But all these movements are, interesting and money in the bank, so to speak, in terms of getting waste out of you, whether they're big or not. So in day 8, had a movement at 8:30 and 11:30. And this was the pace where I would have a movement in the morning that was substantial, and then maybe some others in the day that were smaller or just liquid. And that was definitely the way it was most of the juice feast, at least in the beginning and the end. But then in the middle, I had large movements and with substantial solids basically happening every day. So day 9, April 22nd, substantial movement in the morning, and then that was it. Day 10, again 10:15, but later on not too much. Day 11, not too much. Day 11. It took me a bit to get into the rhythm of having substantial movements every day, because certainly in the day 8 through 14, I didn't have such large movements every day. Or, day 12 is practically nothing. Day 13, no movements. And that was quite rare. I think I could count on 2 hands the days in this 107-day juice feast that I didn't have any movements at all. It looks like I think the first one was day 4, and then the second time that happened was day 13. But day 14 I had some more, 8 o'clock in the morning, then 1:30, 3:15. I think didn't photograph that for some reason. Maybe I was using a public restroom or something. Day 15, not too much, but then more on day 16. And that was also quite common, at least early on. If I didn't have so many movements one day, I would have typically a bigger one the next day. I should also mention that in these first 2 weeks, when I did have emotional detox, it was at the most in the first 2 weeks. That I have in my notes, I took a little bit about that, and I think day 6 and maybe day, 11, had some kind of minor sadness, but that kind of went away. And on those days, I did coffee enemas, and that seemed to help that. I should also note that in, I think, the first 2 weeks, by day 10, I tried to I didn't give up coffee, or espresso rather, right away on this juice feast. I weaned that out, and I think that was pretty much down to 1 shot a day by day 10. And after the 2-week mark, I wasn't doing that at all. I kind of started this juice feast on a whim, I guess, and I didn't completely prepare how I was going to quit the espresso, and it didn't really occur to me until I was 1 week in that, I really need to not be drinking this espresso if I'm going to make a serious go at this. So that's what I did, and weaned myself off of it by day 14 or so. But I think for at least the rest of the first month, sometimes I would make a shot of espresso and take a sip of it if I needed some help on a movement. And usually that one sip, it was so bitter I didn't need any more, and it actually did help, but it was a kind of a weird, way to go about that, in that it helped a little bit, but it wasn't a good long-term solution. So I didn't really do that after the first month, but sometimes I would do that. Moving into day 18 on May 1st, again, more of the same. And these movements are not terribly different looking. Some of them have a green tint because I was drinking a lot of green juice to them. But yeah, they didn't really look like any different, although I did note that on day 18, this early afternoon movement smelled pretty old, and I think this morning one smelled pretty old too. Day 19, not too much in the way of movements. Day 20, again, I think in this photo I wrote that there's more in the bowl than you can see here. Day 21, looks like I had more come out of me, although this one I was in a public restroom, didn't take anything. Oh, maybe not so much. I have photos like this where I couldn't tell if these were like diverticula or just fibers from the juice coming out. It looks like there's some more in the bottom of the bowl there. Day 22, again, not too much. I did notice that this one felt uncomfortable coming out of me. It felt uncomfortable passing through my colon, like I maybe was having a bit of stomach issues, stomach cramps. Day 23, small movements again, juice movements. Day 24, looks like I flushed it on accident. Day 25, looks like a wet movement. I think there's more in the bottom of the bowl there than you can see. Day 26, just a little bit there, small. Day 27, looks like I had some sulfury wet solid here, pretty old looking. Did a coffee enema after that, according to my notes. Day 28, got quite a bit out there. Day 29, again, no movements. That's only, I think, the third day that happened. Day 30, looks like a medium-sized movement in the morning. Another one where I was out in a portalette, so I didn't take notes for that. Day 31, I think these are just quite small. Also day 32, just small and wet movement, but you can see that one has some grooves in it. That looks pretty old there. Day 33, no movements. Support day with no movements. Day 34, it's like a medium solid movement. Day 35, according to my notes, I felt a lingering movement all day, but that didn't come, so I kind of forced these ones out. And also had some kind of emotional detox these days. And this is at this point I was doing coffee enemas like 2 or 3 times a week to try to get stuff out and to try to get rid of some of this emotional detox stuff. Some things are coming out little by little, but not tons yet. I'm just at this point I'm just happy that I'm pooping every day though. Looks like in day 36 had some more old grooved type movements in the morning. Day 37 again, looks like some really old stuff there, maybe some small intestine stuff right there. Day 38, not too much. Some days I recall I would have juice movements, but I didn't even bother photographing them because they were just like clear and there was nothing in it. It's like day 39, that's a pretty big movement, the first kind of big one that I had in a while, and as well as some old little solids later on. So I remember at this time things are starting to pick up again. Day 40, like some more old stuff with grooves in it. Day 41. This one was pretty shocking to me because like these were kind of old, funny shaped, and then in most of my movements you can see are in the morning or the mid-afternoon, but this one came in like the evening. and it was a lot of juice, and then these solids came out. And then for day 41, I was like, wow, for me to have such a big movement in the evening, I think was, and also this one smelled pretty bad according to my notes. That was eye-opening, I guess. Things are starting to pick up in terms of pace here. Not too much on day 42, but then day 43, there's a lot. Looks like I was at the office, so I couldn't take a photo, but there's a lot in the morning. Day 44, quite a bit. Looks like these ones are starting to be quite smelly, smell like sulfur or acidic. And it looks like I was going to the toilet like 6 times per day at this point. Day 45, looks like some old stuff, but nothing like no types of huge releases, just a lot of juices. Day 46. Things are starting to pick up here. These old little movements, and then colonic. Okay, actually not too much there, but in day 47, nothing until the late evening, which is quite strange. Day 48, some more movements moving into June. Day 49, June 1st. June was a big month for me. I mean, I started moving stuff a lot. And you can see I would have a juice movement spread throughout the day. Typically, I was only having solids in the morning, but I know that changed right around this time. I was starting to have solids all day long. Looks like this one's just juices with some solids in the morning there. Day 51, still juices. I think I might have been traveling on this day. Maybe not. Day 52, some solid movements there. Day 53, in the morning, solid. Day 54, this was a big day. Or this was the starting of big movements. Looks like some muddy stuff. And then just to be pooping every 3 hours or so was kind of a lot. Okay, this was my travel day when I traveled out to the shore. Lots of movements throughout the day. Then day 55, I woke up, I was in a hotel room. Didn't have any movements because I had to juice a lot and then travel, and then we were moving around throughout the day and had to drive home. So there was not a lot of time to just kind of relax. It's quite normal to be constipated when you're traveling. But then day 56, this was the big eye-opener. Look at this one. On day 56 at 9 a.m., I mean, my entire colon just released, just emptied that. I mean, it was insane. That's the biggest movement I had on this juice feast by far. And I was at the beach the day before, so I was in the water. It was quite cold. I really felt like that was like a good shock to my lymph system. Got tons of sun. Hadn't pooped, but had drank tons of juices. And then the next day, just came back and this was released. And then some more stuff in midday. Day 57, again, look at that. That's disgusting. It doesn't look like poop, but it is. And then that's just the beginning. 8:45 was that. 11:45, more of that kind of stuff. 12:15. I mean, this stuff's coming out all day. And then I did a coffee enema and got even more of it out, as well as some like groove type stuff there. This is just one day. So day 56, 57, my eyes are starting to open because I'm hitting in the middle of the juice feast and just there's tons of stuff. Day 58, look at that. More. I mean, look at the grooves in that. That's old stuff, been sitting there a while. Day 59, God, another massive one in the morning. And you can just see the grooves on it there. I mean, that stuff's been sitting in the colon for a while, and maybe it was quite small in the colon, but just all the juices I drank just hydrated it, which allowed it to move and come out. So day 59, June 11th. Day 60, more big stuff. Day 61, maybe not so much. Day 62, post-coffee enema. That's quite a bit. Day 63, day 64, look at that. Wow. That is enormous. Let me see if I have any notes on. Okay, so I think at this time I was starting to spend more time outside and just getting more sun. There's a big, I think day 55 through 65 was the most in terms of frequency and amount coming out per day. Look at that, day 65. Look at how old and knotted that is. I mean, that looks
just super old. Day 66, not too much. Day 67, not quite a bit actually, 11:45 there, and 10. So I think day 56 through 66, 67 were like the most I had. And that was like, late June and early July. Or excuse me, mid-June. We're in mid-June here. Where I was just like moving solids just like throughout the whole day instead of juices in the afternoon. But I know that kind of returned a bit to normal. Up day 70, 10, 15, lots of groove type stuff. Day 71 looks like red type stuff. That's a big one. Day 72, sorry, a little bit there. Day 73, dang, look at that. That is enormous. And around this time I started drinking beet juice, so some of these movements are going to appear quite red. Beet juice is very laxative. Yeah, there it is. The beet juice came out of me. I drank it a lot this morning, which moved that, and then my next movements are just like bright red. But look, there's some old stuff in there that you can't really see, and this is at 9 p.m., which is quite an unusual time to have a movement. Again, the next day, day 74, drinking more beet juice. Look at that. 74th day, no solid food, and I'm passing stuff that's this big, looking like I had a big meal the night before. I mean, it's just insane. 75, not as much there. 76, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm like, it looks like I've only had like 5 days or so where I haven't had any movements, and each morning I'm just waking up and quite normally passing something big. So that was day 75. Not that much there because that was another day I went to the beach. But then usually after I would go to the beach or after I would travel, because I was able to get sun and get in the water, and I didn't have any movements that day. Usually the next day or two afterward I would pass a lot, and that happened again on this day. On these days, day 76, 77, 78. Look at that, some quite old stuff there. Now let's move into July. Day 79 in July. Again, quite a bit. This one actually was it burned coming out. I mean, I was burning for like hours after this. Don't know why, but I think there's just some quite acidic stuff gets stuck in us. Day 80, 11:30. That one looked pretty old. Day 81, day 82. All right, day 81. This is the day my juicer broke. So these days were pretty stressful, and I don't think I had too many movements. But then the day, July 4th, I was traveling. I went hiking that day, so I didn't have so much movements. Then, because I got in the stream that day, was been in the national park. So when I came back, then day 83, I was expecting a big movement. Yeah, pretty much got a big one there. Day 84, another big one. That trend holds where I was having big movements a couple of days after I would travel and go to the beach or go hiking. Day 85. Some quite old stuff there. Stuff's quite knotty looking. Looks like some old rope or something. Day 86. Day 87, quite a big movement. Day 88. Day 89. Not too much. That day 90, look at that big, I'm on my 90th day. I'm hoping I'm starting to slow down, and then I get up and I just pass that, and then that loads. Day 91, look at how old that is. I mean, look at just the funny shapes of that. Looks like maybe the stuff from the small intestine. I don't know. Day 92, not too much. Day 93, mostly juices there. Yeah, so I think on day 92 I didn't pass too much. Day 93, juices. I'm hoping I'm done. Day 94, nope, still got more to go. Well, but it's definitely slowing down. Day 95, a little bit there. Day 96, and I think I'm starting to slow down, and then day 96 I passed something big, and I'm like, oh, got back on the horse. But then day 97 I had no movements at all this day. I'm thinking, oh no, or maybe that's good, maybe I'm going to be done. Day 98, oh, there's a slightly big movement, but then nothing else. I'm thinking maybe I'm slowing down, maybe I'm getting there. Day 90, a lot of juice matter, but then maybe some solid bits. So day 99, it looks like from day like 95 to 99, I didn't have, or 96 to 99, 96 to 99 or so. No, excuse me, 97 to 99. I didn't have much. Or, sorry, 97 to 100. Didn't have that much. And I'm thinking, cool, maybe I'm done. But then day 101, I passed that, and I'm like, and then that. And I'm like, oh no, maybe I'm not going to finish by day 105, 106, 107. Also, this day 101, I felt kind of sick the night before. And I had my sleep, I had just been sleeping so light, been getting up so early. It was good feeling sick the night before and then having funny sleep and then waking up and passing this stuff. I mean, you can see how old that is. And this stuff just smelled awful, by the way. I mean, it smelled like there was like a faint garlicky, but just ancient smell to it. Really disgusting. Day 102, though not too much. But then, this is the day I woke up at like 2 a.m. Felt just like I was a zombie all day. And then at 1500 I passed this stuff, which you can see is just like geometric looking in shape just about. And it also smelled really bad and burned coming out too. I had a dream that night that I had been somebody had elbowed me in the head, and it just was like a thud that was just so visceral. And I knew that something bad was coming out that day. Day 103. But this is these are the last movements I think I had. This one's interesting. It's so flat looking. Look at right there how flat that is. I mean, it was just really weird. And I poked it with some chopsticks that I kept a box of chopsticks in the drawer next to my toilet. But these ones were quite soft though. And then right after that, there were some slithery bits, but it was a lot of juice. So, at this point, I don't really know what to think. Am I slowing down? Am I not? But I'm thinking maybe I'll go to day 110 and just cut it really close, or maybe I'll just break the juice feast, even though I know I'm not done. And then day 104, I wake up and I pass this stuff that in the next 3 days. Now, when you look at it at first, it looks, when it hits the toilet, like it could be a solid, but coming out, it did not feel at all like anything I had passed before, in that it was just like a liquid drip, like a slushy machine or a soft serve, but even more viscous than that. So, and it's kind of congeal in the toilet, but once I would poke it a little bit with the chopstick, it would fall right apart right away, except for this bit here. So that on day 104, this stuff felt like quite a bit more juice, and then that is just all juice. And then day 105, same thing. This stuff came out. I mean, and it came out very liquid, but once I poked it with a stick, it just completely fell apart in the water. And then day 106, again the same thing. It was not those kerplunking movements of the days before, and so I'm thinking, that's okay. At this point, I'm deciding to break the juice feast. Day 106, and I've got day 107 there for tomorrow, when I will break it and then do the prune test and see what happens. So these last 3 days, I have, been passing these things that are just, again, I'm convinced that they're juices. They've passed easy. They've been very, very viscous coming out of me, and then they might collect in the water, but they come apart really easy in a way that the others hadn't. And that had been after this day 103, which was day 102, which was a very hard day and looked like some very old final stuff came out of me. Day 103, maybe this is the beginning of those juices. Don't really know. Day 104, 105, 106. I mean, this stuff was just, and these were big movements. And I've been drinking 2 gallons a day of just, like watermelon and cantaloupe and stuff. So just passing a lot of juices. And that's about it. I tried to go through all the movements. I know I said I wasn't, but I figured that would be the easiest way. If, you can just stop and pause through anything. Tomorrow morning I'm going to take the prune test and I'll let you know my results.